Hi guys, today we're going to talk about setting up an Etsy shop to be successful. There's a couple things you need to do when you're going through to set up your shop to help you, and we're going to talk about those on each step of the way. Now, I've already clicked on Sell on Etsy, which you'll usually find right here next to Home before you've clicked that, and that'll bring up shop preferences. Now, of course, you need to make an account first. And just kind of make it linked to an email that you know you're going to check often, because if you do have sales, you want to see them right away. So if you have something that's linked to your phone that'll give you notifications or something, that's probably the best way to do it. Here's the shop preferences where you're going to start. It's just really basic, choosing your language, what kind of currency you want to accept, and then this is not really that important, but you can just choose if you're selling part-time or full-time. Here you'll get to enter your shop name. Now keep in mind you don't want to have any spaces in the shop name here. It'll all just be one word. So you can make it something personal to where you live. I live in the desert, so I'm going to use the Sonoran Stitch because for this example we're going to be selling crochet items. So you'll check the availability, it works, and you'll move on to the next spot. Now you can add as many listings as you want. The more you have, the more likely your shop will be found. Now, when you stock your shop, you want to make sure that the photos are high quality, and generally you want to use natural light or at least some kind of bright lighting to bring attention to your photos. Many of the listings on Etsy have a white background and they do really well. You can use other color backgrounds, but white backgrounds do very well on Etsy. So if you have a white background and you have natural lighting, definitely take advantage of it. For all of your listings, you'll go through, you'll give a title. You'll say who made it, because it's either you did, someone that works for your shop, or another company in any case. And you can talk about if it's a finished product or if it's just like, if you're just selling individual pieces for crafting that people can use to make their own finished product, you'll indicate that. And then of course when it's made, now you can do made to order. It's generally better to just have it already made when you list it at first. Just because that way you're not scrambling to make something for your first sale. You can just ship it out and get it taken care of. You can do automatic relisting of your listings that don't sell for 20 cents. Now, it is important to note that each listing on Etsy does cost money, so just be aware of any fees that you might need to pay. So for this, we're going to say it's a crochet blanket. When you're making the title, something that you really want to do is include keywords that you would use to search for that item. So if you were going to go on Etsy and search for what you were selling, what would you type? Whatever that may be, you want to include it in the title, and that helps your search engine ranking. So we'll say crochet blanket, purple, large. I made it. It's a finished product, and it was made recently. Then you'll choose the category. We'll say the best one for this is probably clothing. It's going to be the closest thing. And then we'll move on to the pricing. Now the pricing is really important. You do want to do price comparisons for everything, because you would actually be surprised when people are wanting to buy handmade items, they're generally willing to pay more. Now for a large blanket that's crocheted, $45 really isn't that much, so that would be the pricing that I would set on something like that. I like to do the automatic relistings because it's just something that I don't have to go through and do and take time out of my day for my business to do. And obviously this is a physical item. Now for the description, this is another where you want to include keywords. Everything that might possibly bring up your listing, any other search stuff that you wouldn't put in the title necessarily, you want to put in here. So we'll say this blanket is made So if you have dimensions for your item, you would like to include those here. Now for this demonstration, we're not going to do a particularly lengthy description. However, you may want to get a lengthier description as you go. There's also color variations, size variations. If you are planning on stocking multiple things or you want to be able to make it in different colors, you can add that in. And then of course the shipping you'll want to calculate. Generally I do, for large items like this, $5 shipping. If they get another item, I'll usually bump it up to around $8. And that's just because this is a really large blanket, a really large item. And then for international shipping, you'll generally want to bump it up a couple dollars because it does cost you more to ship. But for smaller things, you could even get away with like $2 or $3 shipping, especially if you can ship it in a flat rate box. The tags here, of course, you want to do crochet, blanket, yarn, purple, just anything that's relevant to it. Materials, yarn, of course you'll put that in there, and then you'll move on to the next. It's important to note that before you move on, you want to try and use as many tags as possible. I just threw in a couple because we're doing a demonstration, but when you have 8 left, you want to make sure you're using all 8. And for this as well, if you can fill up 12 for the materials, definitely do it. It's an easier way to get your products found, and it's the best way to be successful on Etsy is by using keywords. Then when you move on to the next point, now I don't have a picture of this blanket, so I just went ahead and used this for now because we're just doing a demonstration. So when we go through, we're going to say, okay, we're done with our first listing. Next, how you'll get paid that's obviously important. Now the next part is really simple. You're just going to go through, set up your bank account where you can get paid, what kind of money you will accept, for instance, if you want to accept PayPal payments, and you'll go through and do all that, and then you'll set up the billing for your own listings, which costs roughly, I think, 20 cents each. So you're going to want to go through and do all that. Now I'm not going to show you how to do that because it's really self-explanatory. I just really wanted to touch on using keywords when you stock your shop, naming your shop effectively, and making sure your shop preferences are all set up. So once you do that, you're all set to go. Just promote wherever you can, if you have friends and family that are interested in your products, and even by word of mouth, and you should be successful on Etsy.